Welcome. Welcome, everyone. My name is Abby. I am the founder of Senior Savvy, which relieves tech stress for older people so they can excel in today's world. Today, I'm going to be talking within this video about protecting your privacy online. It happens to be a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I've helped so many of you reclaim your identity online. It makes me angry. I hate it that you're being taken advantage of. And it is so important to me to educate you on how you can better protect yourself online. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. This screen sharing is a function of Zoom. And let me go ahead and cue that up. There we go. Now, today we're going to talk about how you can protect your accounts, how you can be more secure, and what you can do in the event of an unfortunate data breach. I also have prepared a tip sheet just for you, and this way you can email me later on and receive that. And it's going to summarize most of what we're talking about today. Now, when you talk about protecting your accounts, there's typically two ways to do this. And I want to begin thinking about how you can protect your accounts with good security and privacy. Now, security generally refers to protecting against someone trying to access your accounts, like stealing your credit card information or hacking your bank account. Whereas privacy is more often used in keeping your movements, like your location, private from being tracked. And now let's talk a little bit about good hygiene. Okay, all last year, there was such a big focus on good hygiene, right? Good hand washing, not touching your face. And you know what? In my house, there's a lot of talk about good hygiene. I have two kiddos. They're preteens, and we still have to remind them to brush their teeth, to take a shower, to put deodorant on. No joke. I know eventually they're going to catch on and eventually they're going to want to not smell and they're going to want to take good care of their teeth. But it's my job as their mom to remind them to do these things so that one day they'll be doing it independently. You see, I would rather nag them to brush their teeth, to put on deodorant, to take a shower, than have them feel the shame of a friend telling them that they smell or they stink, right? And in the same way, I want to teach you and remind you how you can have better hygiene online so that you are not a victim of identity theft or of being hacked. I'm okay with reminding you about that. You matter to me, and I want to make sure you're protected. So good hygiene online includes having strong passwords, using a password manager, and also opting for two-factor authentication when possible. Let's talk first about strong passwords. Now, I know many of you are reusing your passwords. I know this because we work together. And I want to tell you, it's not okay anymore, all right? You need to begin using a unique password for each and every account. Each account needs its own password. And those passwords need to be at least 12 characters long. You see, once a password goes from 8 characters to 12 characters, the length of time that someone can hack into your account is hundreds of years. So that length of time increases exponentially when you go from an 8-character password to a 12-character password. And that is why it is so important that you up the ante, level up on your password length. Now, a lot of my clients like to use a password manager, and I think that that is great. They are explicitly designed to keep website logins much, much more secure. And there are a couple of them that I really like above all the others. One is LastPass. The other one's called 1Password. And the third one is Dashlane. So you can, with these password managers, specify the master password. It's the vault password. And you can also configure certain logins so that you have to re-enter your master password every time you log in. Now let's talk about multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is something that really stumps a lot of my clients, which is why I want to talk about it. What happens here is you are in need of verifying your identity an additional way. And it's done by something you know, like a PIN, something you have, like a phone or an email, and something you are, your fingerprint or facial recognition. And what I want you to do when you see this is to lean into it. Now, a lot of my clients resist, they hate it, they complain about it, they're grumpy about it, but here's the thing. It's adding an additional layer to your security by verifying that this is really you logging in. And here's another thing, you don't have to write this one down, okay, because it's a one-time only code. Note it, but you don't need to keep it. It will be different next time, and it won't be good for any more than 15 minutes. Now, one thing I want you to keep in mind is that you can choose how you want to further identify yourself. And if getting a text message isn't good for you, you can't find it, it pops up, it goes away, or if waiting on that email doesn't work for you, you can select a different way of being authenticated. You may be able to select receiving a phone call, and then you would hear the code over the phone. So I want you to keep that in mind, that you can make that choice and you can configure your accounts to do just that. I like multi-factor authentication because it's an extra layer of security. It's typically one I've got right with me. So that means it's easy for me to verify my identity. And I want to be safer online. Good hygiene also includes downloading those software updates. Now, when I work with you, I'd say about 95% of you do not do your software updates. And a lot of my client sessions could be prevented if your devices were up to date. So in the same way, when you hop in your car and you look at your dashboard, if you see a check engine light on there, what would you do? Well, this has happened to me before. I've gotten into the car when I was a young driver and I ignored that, much in the way that a lot of people ignore their software updates. And you know what happened? Yeah, my engine stopped working. And I was on the side of the road with my little brother, waiting for a tow truck to arrive that I had to call from a payphone. That's how long ago that was. And you know what? I learned once that a check engine light is urgent and you don't ignore it, or you end up on the side of the road. And so when you see these notifications appear, it usually looks like a red exclamation point. Maybe you'll see it down on your Windows device in the bottom right corner by your taskbar. I want you to look at that as a check engine light, okay? And to address it right away and not to ignore it. Because what's happening here is that there are security patches and updates that are going to help the longevity of your device and also protect you online, and you want that. Another way that you can protect your account is being aware of phishing. Now, phishing usually happens in a couple of different ways: email, text messages, phone calls, for instance. And I really want you to be aware that most phishing occurs and provokes fear. It seems urgent. They want you to do something now or else. And actually, this happened to me not too long ago. I got a voicemail message from my local electricity company. And the voicemail message said that they were going to turn off my electricity within the next 12 hours if I didn't call them back. So the first thing I thought was, oh, was that paid? My husband pays for the utilities. So I didn't even know if it was paid or not. But here's what started going through my mind. Oh my goodness, I'm a mother, I'm home with the kids, we live in the desert, the electricity is going to go out, and everything just starts snowballing. And I start panicking and getting fearful. And then I say, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, first things first, I'm going to call my electricity company and hear from them. I'm not going to use the phone number that was left on my voicemail. I don't know if it's authentic or not. I'm going to use the phone number that's on my statement and call them. And when I did that, I found out that there are several scams like this running. I also did a Google search for APS scam. That's the name of our electricity, APS, and found out that this is exactly the type of scam that's running right now. And also, the electricity company, they're not going to ask you to, they're not going to tell you they're going to turn off your electricity or else. They're going to contact you in several different ways before that ever happens. Okay, another way that you can be aware of phishing is any email that's requesting sensitive information. In the email, they want you to click here to update your login information, and I want you to be aware of that. Additionally, I want you to look at who is it from. Okay, and what I always do is I hover my mouse over the reply to, and I like to see who's this from. And typically I can tell this is from a public email, not from a company email. So I always look to see who it's from and who the reply to is. This next one is a really good example also of noticing typos in these emails, as well as hovering your mouse and seeing who the email is from. And in this case, even though it says it's from Best Buy, it's actually coming from fashionlab.com.ua. That's not Best Buy. So I really want you to be aware of that. Read the email carefully. I see several typos in here. And if you're still not sure, call the company yourself, not from the number here, but from the one on the internet, and do a Google search and see, is there a Best Buy scam email in circulation right now? You want to be aware of unsolicited attachments, and this will really tip you off to a phishing email. So in this event, I also want you to see who it's coming from and who the reply to is. Okay, there's two different emails there, and one of them is a Gmail account, which means this is definitely not legitimate. So a lot of times my clients forward me emails that they are uncertain of, and you can do that anytime. Truly, just forward me your email. And if it is a scam, I'm just going to write you back and say, go ahead and delete this one. It is not legitimate. Okay. Also beware of phishing within text messages. So I've been getting something like this regularly. Also one from UPS, one from FedEx, and it is truly a phishing text message. They call that smishing, and it's where they send deceptive text messages to lure you into providing personal information or financial information. So do not trust this. If you get a text message from a bank or a realtor, go ahead and reach out to them separate from this message. So don't click on the links, don't call the erroneous number, reach out to them directly on their website or with the phone number that you have from your account. Additionally, I want you to beware of phishing phone calls. I get a ton of them. I know you do too. And if you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up. If someone asks you for sensitive information, do not give it to them. In fact, just hang up. If you want to, you can report this to the FTC or the FCC. And you can also call into the AARP Fraud Watch helpline. Now, I did have one of my clients say something to me earlier this week. She wanted to know, was it really important that she have a unique password for her library account, for instance? Like, who's going to use that account? And I told her it is necessary that she has a secure password and a unique password for that account. Because if that account could get hacked into, a hacker can then extract the information in that account, including her address and her phone number and her email, and maybe even her birth date. So it is important to use a secure and a unique password for each account. Now we're going to transition from talking about security to talking about protection. And here are some ways that you can protect your accounts. One thing that you can do is spring clean your devices. So go ahead and delete any unused apps. You can also turn off ad personalization. Here's an example of turning off ad personalization in Google as well as in Apple. And this is an example of how you can turn that off on your Mac. Another thing that you can do is to turn off location services. And this way, your phone is not tracking where you are going. And you can also turn off location services on your computer. Now, I have a lot of clients that dislike Facebook and the tracking, and there are many settings that you can adjust to manage your privacy and your security. And one of these ways is to turn off Facebook activity. It's kind of confusing, but it's called off Facebook activity, so that it's not tracking you when you are off of Facebook. And this is a screen image of what it looks like in the app. Now, I know this is kind of daunting. And so what I want to encourage you to do is do a little bit each day. Add passwords to a password manager when you access them, and focus on the basics, strengthening your passwords, opting in for two-factor authentication, and being aware. Now let's talk about what happens in the event of a data breach. The first thing I want you to do is to check your passwords and see if any of them are repeated, because that will be one of the first things that a hacker is going to do. Next, monitor your financial accounts and sign up for these bank alerts. This way, you'll be notified anytime a withdrawal of more than $100 or whatever you set it at will come in to a text message or an email, and you can monitor that. But you want to let your bank know if you do suspect a data breach, as well as the credit reports. And don't delay. Take fast action to secure and protect your identity. Now, if you are particularly vulnerable and particularly trustworthy, I really want to encourage you to go the extra mile and install something called Lifelock Select by Norton. I was working with a couple, helping them with malware and antivirus, and I thought everything was understood and they were well protected, but they called me about a month later to say that they had been hacked. And what had happened was the husband was trying to receive some Microsoft tech support and ended up divulging personal information. Now, he didn't realize it was a scam, and he's trustful. And what this made me realize was that when you have been hacked one time, you are vulnerable and you can be susceptible to it happening again. And so using something like Norton LifeLock Select on all of your devices will protect your online privacy and identity. Now, I want you to reach out to me for that tip sheet. There's my email address. Don't forget it has an NET at the end. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And finally, I just tell you how proud I am of you for taking care of yourself online, for being a savvy consumer, for protecting your identity. And I want you to know that if you ever need help, reach out to me, email me, call me, comment down below. Let me know how I can better serve you. It is my honor to do this and to help you. Thank you so much for joining me today.